We have a very special guest with us, and I read the piece that she wrote, and it was on Fox Digital. And Asra Nomani. Asra Nomani, any friend of Zuhdi Jasser is a friend of mine. You wrote a remarkable piece about this Marxist Islamist alliance and how this has been in the works for a few decades now, and how their goal is to destroy America. Welcome to the program. Tell us what it is that you're conveying to the American people here.
Yeah, it's so long overdue for us to talk. We are friends without having spoken to each other.
Amen.
But yes, you have been a pioneer in this area of research. And you know what I want to just share with readers is, 25 years ago, I was a Muslim, like many, who was watching the extremism around me, but it didn't hit home until 9/11. And then it became very personal because I was a reporter at the Wall Street Journal, and my dear colleague was the journalist Daniel Pearl, who was kidnapped and murdered.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, Mark, he left my house in Karachi, Pakistan, and we hunted, for the men who had kidnapped Danny for 5 weeks, and we learned with the world the brutal beheading that had happened of Danny. And his last words, my father is Jewish, my mother is Jewish, I am Jewish. Those men that murdered Danny had the hate that is now being expressed on the streets of our country and on our campuses against Jews, against Israel, against America. And so for these last 2 decades, I've been studying these adversaries we face. And what I've documented is that, indeed, we have a nexus of the far-left socialists with the Islamists who believe in political Islam. And I think what probably caught your attention this time with this article is that the rise of mayoral candidate Zoran Mamdani captures this true nexus that we have between the red, the green, and the blue, that is the Democratic Party. And this machine is working to dismantle America from the inside.
And it is amazing, is it not, how the media just report it like it's almost no big deal. They pretend that he's not the anti-Semite, the Jew hater, the American hater. He's talked about seizing the means of production. He really is this Marxist, radical Islamist mindset, right?
Yeah, it's very true. And what I really wanted to capture in this article and in my book is, why are these blinders on the eyes of so many Americans, even with the evidence right in front of our faces? I mean, Mark, you have said that, you have dared to say the S word for so many years, socialism. You have called them out as Marxists. They are self-declared. But yet when we have these protests on the streets run by groups like the Party for Socialism and Liberation, they're as blatant as you could possibly be. Mm-hmm. The media simply reports them as angry Americans, anti-Trump demonstrators, and they are refusing to have transparency on what is playing out in our streets. Why? What I document in this article and what I document in the book is that 20 years ago, Muslim establishment had a strategy in which they were going to racialize Muslims, turn us into a race, and play the victim card. And so in this new pedagogy of critical race theory, we became the oppressed, even though an extremist faction of our community was beheading innocent people around the world. And we ended up becoming the recipients of these donors that were funding the Democratic Party. And the evidence that I show in the column is a 2008 email from a top official at the Open Society Foundation, which is run by philanthropist George Soros, and it was an email that went to John Podesta, former Clinton senior advisor, and later Hillary Clinton campaign manager. And in that email, they laid the game plan to upend the Bush administration's national security policy, perform this moral inversion and become victims in the national security space, so that today, what's the result? Zoran Mamdani declares that we must globalize the Intifada, and he can then literally weep in front of the camera claiming to be a victim of Islamophobia.
It is amazing.
Yeah.
And so what your point is, and your point of your article and your great book, which is called Woke Army, the Red-Green Alliance that is destroying America's freedom. You can get it at Amazon.com. I encourage you to do that. And your point is this. Your point is they do exactly what they say they're going to do. Then they try to immunize themselves by claiming racism, Islamophobia, and so forth. I saw this over at Mediaite, which is a hard little nothing of a website, and a guy by the name of Kobe Hall, he's there arguing that this guy's a Democrat progressive and how he's being challenged and questioned and where's the anti-Semitism. And, you know, I listed all the anti-Semitism. It's so public. It's out here. I want you to listen to this. I want you to stick with me a little bit here.
Yes, absolutely.
I want you to listen to this. Cut 2, Mr. Producer. This is the Zoran Mamdani. Go ahead.
We have to continue to elect more socialists, and we have to ensure that we are unapologetic about our socialism. Now, unapologetic about our socialism, when I say that, I don't mean that you're voting on an issue about, or you're saying hello to somebody and the first thing you say is, my name is Zoran and I'm a socialist. You can be smart about the conversations that you have and ensure that you're not.
In other words, what he's saying there is deceive them. Deceive them. Tell them all the goodies they're going to get, attack the system, attack capitalism, attack Americanism, deceive them, and then tell them what they're going to get. But do it in a way that's actually going to persuade them and so forth. So it's pretty sinister, isn't it?
It's very sinister, and some of your listeners might know the word taqiyya, which is our Muslim community, and it basically means gaslighting people, right? Like that's the normal way to talk about it. And the Muslim establishment groups do it all the time because they'll say, invite us to your interfaith dinner. We're going to bring diversity. And their diversity doesn't include a system in which you are unequal to them, but in fact they are practicing their brand of Muslim supremacy. And these socialists are no different. They believe they are so much better than the rest of America that believes in free enterprise and individual liberties. And the really important concept that I want to make sure I talk about is one that I know is really important to Mark, is this 3 words, malign foreign influence, because Zudi and I are perfect examples of immigrants immigrant families that came to the United States and believe in the values of this country. We fight for this country every single day. But there are those from the left and from the Muslim community and from all over that are malign in their intentions about this nation. And they are supported and sponsored by actors overseas, from Qatar to the Communist China and interest groups. And we have to be really clear about the fact that they want to sow this discord that we're seeing on the streets today. And so part of my goal is always to, just like you do, bring transparency to it so that our Americans can be inoculated to their propaganda. Yeah.
Now listen to this back and forth where Kristen Welker over the weekend will meet the press on this phrase, globalize the Intifada. Now you and I know what Intifada is. It's war. It's terrorism against the Jews and now the broader West. And globalize it means that wherever, quote unquote, Muslims are, go to war with the West. Go to war with people with whom you disagree, especially the Jews. So let's listen to this. Cut 4, go.
I want to ask you about an issue that has divided some New Yorkers in recent weeks. You were recently asked about the term globalize the Intifada, if it makes you uncomfortable. In that moment, you did not condemn the phrase. Now, just so folks understand, it's a phrase that many people hear as a call to violence against Jews. There's been a lot of attention on this issue. So I want to give you an opportunity to respond here and now. Do you condemn that phrase, globalize the Intifada?
That's not language that I use. The language that I use and the language that I will continue to use to lead this city is that which speaks clearly to my intent, which is an intent grounded in a belief in universal human rights. And ultimately, that's what is the foundation.
So stop there a minute. Stop there for a second. So, Asra, this is exactly how he does it, how he's been indoctrinated to do it, which is lie.
Yeah.
Right?
It's complete gaslighting. I have traveled through the West Bank, and I have felt literally with my finger the bullet holes, that have pierced through walls in the intifadas that have been a part of the violence and I have gone to the Sabara where bomb blew up, killing innocents in Jerusalem. That is the intifada. And there's no getting around that except in their propaganda where, I've been on the streets now here, Mark, from Chicago to D.C., New York City, College Park, Maryland, and these Students for Justice in Palestine organizations that Zoran Mandani also led at his college are very clear that they want the extinction of the state of Israel from the river to the sea. They want a right of return, as they call it, of every single Palestinian that has ever had any roots as in that identity. And they call it a civil democracy because they want a demographic overhaul of the nation, right? So that Israel is no longer a homeland for the Jews. And I will add this one last element, which is, unfortunately, among the extremists, there is that belief, too, in end times, And in their end times philosophy of extremist Islam, they need to control Jerusalem. And so that is the end game in all of this. And Zudi and I know this because we've studied it. We see it in our mosques. We know the truth. And I just wish that more Americans would open their eyes also to the realities of their goals.
We're here with Asra Nomani, who's got a great book, Woke Army, the Red-Green Alliance Destroying America's Freedom. She wrote a great piece that caught my attention on Fox News Digital. I want you to hear the rest of this, where this Zoran Mamdani refuses to reject the phrase, globalize the intifada. I don't care what language he uses. He can very easily say, not only don't I use it, I condemn it, and he wouldn't say it. Go ahead.
My politics, the belief that freedom and justice and safety are things that to have meaning have to be applied to all people, and that includes Israelis and Palestinians alike.
But do you actually condemn it? I think that's the question and the outstanding issue that a number of people, both of the Jewish faith and beyond, have. Do you condemn that phase, globalize the intifada, which a lot of people hear as a call to violence against Jews?
I've heard from many Jewish New Yorkers who have shared their concerns with me, especially in light of the horrific attacks that we saw in Washington, D.C. and in Colder.
Hey, pal, you've asked a simple question. Are you going to condemn the mass slaughter of Jews worldwide by Muslims or not? I don't care if you've heard from Jews. I don't care if you heard from ghosts. I don't care if you hear voices at night. Will you or not? And he won't. You want to know why he won't? Because he agrees with it. That's why he won't. Am I right, Asra?
Yeah, and he's agreeing with it from two angles, because he believes in the Intifada, which is the rebellion of the Palestinians against the Jewish state, and then he also believes in it as a socialist for the destruction of American free enterprise as we know it. They literally say that they want to destroy the system from within the empire. That's what they call the United States. And people don't have to believe me. For the last year, Mark, I've been building this database. I started an initiative called the Pearl Project to honor my friend Danny. And it's the kind of thing that Danny would make me do. How do you know this, Asra? So, Mark, I built a database. There's 2,500 groups in it. Half of them are these socialist, Marxist, communist, Leninist groups, self-described. They want to turn the Philippines communist. They want South Korea communist. It's everything that you've been preaching, Mark. The evidence is so there. And now we have this convergence of the Islamists with the socialists. And unfortunately, they're using the Democratic Party as their Trojan horse to destroy the so-called empire. Mm-hmm. We are the actual resistance. We are the ones, like in the Clarity Coalition, such brave people standing up to this machine and investigating them, calling them out, refusing their tyranny. And I'm so proud of the people that you inspire also, all of your listeners who are smart enough to listen to you and brave enough to speak their truth, because that's what we all have to do as Americans in order to resist this tyranny.
Well, you're a fantastic lady. We're going to definitely have you back. Asra Nomani, her book is Woke Army, the Red-Green Alliance That's Destroying America's Freedom. You get it on Amazon. She's got a great piece on Fox Digital as well. It's just fantastic. And you're very courageous. My buddy Zudi's very courageous. And unfortunately, you reformers are in a small minority, but you're duking it out. You're doing the very best you can. But we're going to keep exposing this guy who's running in New York. God bless you, my friend. Take care of yourself.
Thank you. Thank you.
She's fantastic.